The message came on a cold Tuesday morning. Admiral Park stood on the bridge of her ship, the UENS Resolve, watching the stars through the main window. She was a tall woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had served in the Navy for 40 years. She had seen many things, but she had never seen anything like the alien that appeared on her screen. The creature was made of crystal. Blue and white light moved inside its body like slow fire. When it spoke, its voice sounded like wind blowing through broken glass. "You have been noticed," the crystal being said. "The Galactic Concord sends greetings to the species called humanity." Kept her face calm. Inside, her heart was beating fast. The Galactic Concord was the largest government in the known universe. They ruled over 400 different species. They had controlled the galaxy for 12,000 years, and for 300 years they had ignored every message humanity had sent them. Until now. "I am listening," said. "The Concord extends an invitation," the crystal being continued. "Humanity may send representatives to Centrum Station. You will be tested. If you pass, you will be offered membership in the Concord. And if we refuse to come?" The crystal being's light pulsed brighter. "Species who refuse do not continue to exist. This is not a threat. It is simply the truth." The screen went dark. Stood very still for a long moment. Then she turned to her communications officer. "Get me Earth, now." The United Nations of Earth held an emergency meeting. Leaders from every country gathered in the Great Hall. They argued for 2 days. Some wanted to refuse, some wanted to fight, some wanted to run. In the end, they made their choice. Humanity would go to Centrum Station. They would send their best people. They would see what the Concord wanted. The delegation was small, only 4 people. Ambassador was the leader. She was 52 years old, with black hair turning silver at the edges. She had spent her whole life studying other cultures and finding ways to make peace between enemies. She was known for 2 things: her calm face that never showed emotion, and her mind that was sharper than any knife. Captain was in charge of security. He was a big man with a scar on his chin and hands that had seen many fights. He did not talk much. He did not need to. His eyes said everything. Dr. Shin Myra was the language expert. She was young, only 30, but she could learn any language in days. She had studied every alien signal humanity had ever recorded. She was excited to finally meet the beings behind those signals. Commander O was the military observer. His job was to watch and remember, to notice things others might miss. He had a soldier's body but a scholar's mind. Their ship was called the Dawn. It was small and fast, built for diplomacy, not war. As it left Earth's orbit, watched her home planet grow smaller and smaller through the window. "Do you think they will accept us?" Myra asked, standing beside her. "I do not know," replied, "but I know one thing. In 12,000 years, no species has ever refused membership in the Concord. Because they all wanted to join." "No," his voice was quiet, "because the ones who refused are not alive to tell us about it." The journey took 3 weeks. The Dawn traveled through something the Concord called a transit lane, a kind of highway through space that made their ship move faster than should be possible. Human scientists did not understand how it worked. That bothered Commander more than he wanted to admit. When they finally arrived at Centrum Station, everyone on the ship fell silent. The station was enormous. It was the size of a small moon floating in space near a dying red star. Lights covered every surface. Ships of all shapes and sizes flew around it like insects around a lamp. Some of those ships were beautiful. Some were terrifying. All of them were alien. "There must be thousands of species here," Myra whispered. 412, said, reading from his screen. "All members of the Concord." "And soon maybe us," Myra said. Captain did not reply. His eyes were moving across the station, counting weapons, measuring defenses. Noticed this and understood. Was not looking at a place of peace. He was looking at a fortress. The Dawn landed in a massive bay filled with other ships. When the doors opened, a wave of strange air washed over them. It smelled like metal and flowers and something else they could not name. Waiting for them was a group of aliens. They were tall and thin, with pale skin like old paper. Their bodies curved like snakes, and they had many eyes arranged in circles around their heads. Those eyes never blinked. "We are the leader said. Its voice was smooth and cold. "We will be your guides during your evaluation. Please follow us. Do not touch anything. Do not speak to anyone unless spoken to. Do not leave our sight." "Are we guests or prisoners?" asked calmly. Thus many eyes focused on her. "You are candidates, that is something in between." As they walked through the station, surrounded by creatures from 100 different worlds, Ambassador kept her back straight and her face empty. But inside she was thinking. She was thinking about the crystal being's words. Species who refuse do not continue to exist. She was thinking about what that really meant. And she was thinking about what humanity would do if the Conquered's offer turned out to be not an invitation at all, but a trap. The evaluation was about to begin. The tests began the next morning. Ambassador woke up in a small white room with no windows. The bed was hard. The air was cold. A voice from the ceiling told her to prepare herself. The evaluation would start in 1 hour. She dressed in her formal uniform, black jacket, silver buttons, the flag of Earth on her shoulder. She looked at herself in the mirror and practiced her empty face. Today she would show the Conquered nothing. No fear, no anger, no weakness. The guides came for them at exactly the right time. Their many eyes watched the humans with an expression that might have been curiosity or hunger. It was hard to tell. The first test was physical. Doctors from a dozen species examined the humans like farmers examining animals at a market. They took blood. They measured bones. They scanned brains. They asked questions about human bodies that made Dr. Shin Myra uncomfortable. "Why do you need to know about our reproductive systems?" she asked one of the doctors, a creature that looked like a floating ball of tentacles. "We must understand everything," the doctor replied. "All parts of a species have value, some parts more than others." Myra did not like the way it said the word value. The second test was mental. The humans were placed in separate rooms and asked thousands of questions. Some questions were simple. "What is your name? Where do you come from?" Some questions were strange. "If you could save 10 strangers or 1 friend, which would you choose?" Some questions made no sense at all. Commander O answered carefully. He noticed that the questions kept returning to certain topics. How did humans fight wars? What weapons did they have? How did they treat defeated enemies? What would they die for? These were not the questions you asked a friend. These were the questions you asked someone you planned to fight. The third test was cultural. The delegation had to explain human art, music, literature, and history. They showed videos of Earth, cities full of people, forests and oceans, children playing in parks. They watched everything with their unblinking eyes. "You have had many wars," one of them observed. "Yes," admitted, "we have." "You killed millions of your own kind." "Yes." "And yet you continue. You did not destroy yourselves." Met this many eyes. "We learned. Every time we fell, we got back up. Every time we broke ourselves, we put the pieces back together. That is what humans do." They made a sound that might have been laughter or disgust. It was impossible to tell. 3 weeks passed. Every day brought new tests. Every night brought new questions. Dr. Shin Myra began to see patterns. The Conquered was not just evaluating humanity. They were mapping them, learning every strength and every weakness, finding every crack in the armor. "They are preparing for something," she told during a rare moment alone. "I do not think it is friendship." Nodded slowly. "I have noticed it too, the way they look at us, like we are a problem to be solved." "What do? We wait," We watch. We learn as much about them as they learn about us. Captain had been doing exactly that. While the others were being tested, he had been observing the station. He saw things that worried him. The security was extreme. Every door was guarded. Every hallway had cameras. Every communication was monitored. The humans could not send a message home without the conquered knowing about it. But there was something else. Something in the way the guards moved. Something in the way the other species looked at each other. "They are afraid," told Commander one evening. "Not of us, of something else, something bigger." "What could make the rulers of a galaxy afraid?" asked. Shook his head. "I do not know, but I think we are about to find out." On the 22nd day, they came to their rooms earlier than usual. "The evaluation is complete," the lead announced. "The Conquered has made its decision. You will come to the Grand Chamber to receive the terms of your membership." Stood, and if we do not agree to the terms. The eyes moved in a way that seemed almost nervous. "All species agree. It is not a question. You will agree." The Grand Chamber was the largest room any of them had ever seen. It was shaped like a bowl, with seats rising up on all sides. In those seats sat representatives from every species in the Conquered. Hundreds of different creatures, thousands of watching eyes. The humans stood at the bottom of the bowl, alone and small. A great voice echoed through the chamber. It came from everywhere and nowhere. "Humanity has been evaluated. You are acceptable. You will be granted provisional membership in the Galactic Conquered. In exchange, you will provide the following." A list appeared in the air before them. Read it carefully. Military soldiers. Humanity would send troops to fight in conquered wars. Resources. Humanity would give minerals, water, and food from their planets. Territory. 3 human colony worlds would become conquered property. Knowledge. All human databases would be open to conquered access. And finally, at the bottom of the list, humanity would surrender all weapons capable of faster-than-light travel. Complete disarmament. Stared at the list for a long time. The chamber was silent. 400 species waited for humanity's answer. She thought about Earth, about the children playing in parks, about everything humanity had built and dreamed and hoped for. Then she turned to her delegation. "We are leaving," she said quietly. And she walked toward the door. The sound of footsteps echoed through the grand chamber like thunder. No one moved. No one spoke. 400 species sat frozen in their seats, watching the small human woman walk away from them. It was as if the universe itself had stopped breathing. "Ambassador," the leader called out. Its voice was no longer smooth. There was a crack in it now, something like panic. "You have not accepted the terms." "Did not stop walking. No, we have not." "This is not possible. This is not how it works. Every species accepts. Every species joins. This has been the way for 12,000 years." Now stopped. She stood at the great doors of the chamber, her back straight, her head high. Slowly, she turned to face the assembled rulers of the galaxy. "Then perhaps it is time for a new way," she said. Behind her, Captain Dr. Shin Myra and Commander O stood in a line. Their faces were calm. Their hearts were pounding. They knew what they were doing. They knew what it might cost. "You cannot leave," they said. "We will not allow it." "You will not stop us," replied. "Not today, not ever." She turned and walked through the doors. Her delegation followed. For a moment nothing happened. The chamber sat in stunned silence. Then slowly noise began to build. Voices speaking in 100 languages, some angry, some confused, some afraid. Very, very afraid. The humans walked through the corridors of Centrum Station. Guards appeared at every corner, but none of them moved to block the path. They just watched with their many unblinking eyes. "They are letting us go," Myra whispered. "Why are they letting us go?" "Because they do not know what we will do if they try to stop us," replied. "And they are afraid to find out." Commander was thinking the same thing. For the first time, he understood something important about the Conquered. They were powerful, yes. They had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years, but their power came from one thing: everyone believed they could not be defeated. And now, for the first time, someone had said no. That was more dangerous to them than any weapon. The Dawn was still in the landing bay where they had left it. The crew had been waiting anxiously for 3 weeks, not knowing what was happening inside the station. When walked up the ramp, the captain of the ship ran to meet her. "Ambassador, what happened? What did they say?" "They said we would surrender everything to join them," said. She walked past him to the cockpit. "We said no. Now get us out of here before they change their minds about letting us leave." The Dawn lifted off and flew out of Centrum Station. Behind them, the massive structure grew smaller and smaller. Around them, thousands of conquered ships floated in space. Any one of them could have stopped the little human vessel. None of them moved. Captain watched the sensors carefully. His hands were near the controls, ready to fight if needed, but no attack came. "They are tracking us," he reported. "Long-range sensors, they want to see where we go." "Let them watch," said. "Earth needs to know what happened here. The whole galaxy needs to know." As the Dawn jumped into faster-than-light travel, leaving Centrum Station far behind, Dr. Shin Myra finally allowed herself to breathe. "We just refused the Galactic Conquered," she said. "No one has ever done that. No one in 12,000 years." 3 species refused, Commander corrected her, but they were destroyed before anyone could remember them. "So we could be next," Myra said. "Yes," replied, her voice was quiet but steady. "We could be. That is why we need to prepare." The message reached Earth before the Dawn did. Faster-than-light communication was humanity's own invention, something the Conquered had not expected. It meant that by the time ship arrived home, the whole planet already knew what had happened. The United Nations of Earth met again. This time there was no argument, no debate. Every nation, every leader, every person knew what was coming. War. Admiral Park took command of the combined human fleet. Every warship, every fighter, every armed vessel in human space was called to service. 3,000 ships gathered at the edge of human territory. They positioned themselves at a place called the Threshold, a system of dead planets and asteroid fields that was the only easy path from conquered space to Earth. If the enemy wanted to reach humanity's home, they would have to come through here. Stood on the bridge of her flagship, the UENS Hammer, and looked at the stars. Somewhere out there, the most powerful civilization in history was deciding whether to destroy her species. She was not afraid. She had lived a long life. She had done good work. If this was the end, she would face it standing up. But she did not think it was the end. She remembered something her grandmother had told her when she was a little girl. The biggest enemy is not the one with the most weapons. It is the one who does not know when to stop fighting. Humanity did not know when to stop fighting. They never had. That was their curse. And maybe, just maybe, it was also their greatest strength. The conquered fleet was gathering 50 light-years away. Thousands of ships from dozens of species. The largest military force assembled in centuries. They were not attacking yet. They were waiting. And in that waiting, saw something the Conquered did not want anyone to see. Fear. 3 days passed. The Conquered fleet did not move. Admiral Park watched them on her sensors. Thousands of ships sitting still in space like a pack of wolves afraid to enter a hunter's camp. She did not understand it. The Conquered was more powerful. They had more ships, better technology, 12,000 years of experience. They should have attacked immediately. But they did not. On the 4th day, a single small ship appeared at the edge of human space. It sent a message on all channels. "We are not Conquered military. We come to talk. Please do not shoot." Gave the order to let them approach. The ship was old and beaten. It looked like something that had been repaired many times. When it landed in the Hammer's Bay, the creature that came out was nothing like the crystal beings. She was small. Her body was covered in soft brown fur. Her face was round, with large dark eyes that looked sad even when she smiled. She walked slowly, carefully, like someone who had known much pain. "I am Elder," she said. We are one of the conquered peoples." "Conquered?" asked. "The conquered does not have members, Admiral. It has subjects. We learned this 4,000 years ago when they came to our world." His voice was gentle but heavy with old grief. "We thought we had a choice. We did not." Led to a meeting room. The alien moved slowly, stopping often to catch her breath. She was very old, but her eyes were sharp and full of purpose. "Why are you here?" asked. "Because the conquered is afraid," replied, "and I want you to understand why." She sat down, her small body almost disappearing into the large human chair. For 12,000 years, the conquered has found young species who are just learning to travel the stars. They offer membership. They promise protection and knowledge, but what they really want is control. Why? Because they fear what a free species might become. His dark eyes met. "The universe is dangerous, Admiral. There are things in the dark between galaxies that even the conquered fears. Their answer is to control everything, to make sure no species develops in a way they cannot predict." "But we developed alone," said slowly. "They did not find us in time." "No, they did not," almost smiled. "Your Earth is in a quiet corner of space, hidden by dust and gravity. By the time the conquered found you, 300 years had passed. You had already become something they did not expect." "What is that?" "Dangerous." The word hung in the air between them, waited for more. "I have seen your weapons," continued. "They are simple, crude, the conquered would say, missiles and guns and bombs, nothing like the elegant technologies we use." She paused. "But you have made them fast, so fast. Your ships move like nothing I have ever seen. And your people." "What about our people?" "They are not afraid to die." Thought about this. She thought about human history, all the wars, all the suffering, all the times humanity had faced destruction and survived anyway. "We have always fought," she said quietly. "Sometimes we fought each other, sometimes we fought nature, sometimes we fought just to see another sunrise. It is what we are." "The conquered has never faced a species like you," said. "Every other species they found early, they shaped them. They removed the sharp edges before they could cut. But you," she shook her head in wonder, "you are all sharp edges." They stayed for several hours. She told many things about the conquered, their weaknesses, their fears, the cracks in their ancient empire that they tried so hard to hide. But the most important thing she said was this: "You have done something no species has done in 12,000 years. You said no. And now, across the galaxy, others are starting to ask questions. If the humans can refuse, why can we not?" "Will they fight beside us?" asked. Sad eyes grew sadder. "Not yet. The fear is too deep. But you have planted a seed, Admiral. Whatever happens next, that seed will grow." When the left walked to the observation deck, she stood alone looking at the stars. Behind those stars, the conquered fleet was still waiting, still afraid to attack, still trying to understand what they were facing. They had expected humanity to be like every other species, young, weak, desperate to survive at any cost. They had not expected a species that had survived by fighting, a species that had looked into the darkness again and again and refused to look away, a species that measured victory not in how much they had, but in how much they were willing to give. Admiral Park was not a philosopher, she was a soldier, but she understood something in that moment. The conquered ruled through fear. They found young species and showed them how helpless they were. They made them believe that submission was the only way to survive. But fear only worked on those who wanted to survive at any cost. Humanity wanted to live. There was a difference. Living meant more than just existing. It meant standing up. It meant saying no. It meant being willing to lose everything for the chance to be free. That was what the conquered did not understand. That was why they were afraid. Turned away from the stars and walked back to the bridge. There was work to do. Whatever came next, humanity would face it the only way they knew how. Together, unbroken, unafraid, and ready to fight. On the seventh day, the conquered fleet began to move. Admiral Park watched on her sensors as thousands of ships started their approach. They came slowly, carefully, like hunters who were not sure if they were the hunters anymore. "All ships to battle stations," she ordered. Her voice was calm. "This is what we trained for. This is what we were born for. Today, we show the galaxy what humanity is made of." Across 3,000 ships, men and women prepared for war. They checked weapons. They said prayers. They looked at pictures of their families and quietly said goodbye. On the bridge of the Hammer, opened a channel to the entire fleet. "I will not lie to you," she said. "They have more ships. They have better technology. By every measure, we should lose today." She paused. "But we have something they do not have. We have the will to fight for what we believe in. We have the courage to stand when others would run. We have the fire that burns in every human heart, the fire that has kept our species alive through every darkness." She looked at the approaching enemy fleet. "Today, we do not fight for victory. We fight for meaning. We fight so that our children will know we did not surrender. We fight so that the galaxy will remember us not as victims but as warriors. Whatever happens today, we will make them remember us." The channel closed. Silence fell over the fleet. Then slowly, something strange began to happen. The conquered ship stopped. Frowned at her sensors. "What are they doing?" "They are holding position," her tactical officer reported. 100,000 kilometers from our line. They are not advancing." A new signal came through. A communication request. Accepted it. The face that appeared on her screen was the same who had led the humans through Centrum Station. Its many eyes moved in circles and suddenly realized what that movement meant. It was nervous. "Admiral Park of the human fleet," they said. "The conquered has reconsidered its position." Said nothing, she waited. "Your species is unusual. Our calculations suggest that conflict would result in losses we are not prepared to accept. The conquered does not engage in battles without acceptable outcomes." "So you are retreating?" asked. The eyes moved faster. "We are reassessing. The conquered proposes a new relationship with humanity, not membership, not conflict, a state of mutual non-interference. You will keep your space, we will keep ours. There will be no war." "And the 3 species you destroyed for refusing membership?" There was silent for a long moment. That was long ago. Things were different then. "Were they?" Leaned forward. "Or did you simply not expect anyone to call your bluff?" They did not answer. The conquered fleet turned and began to withdraw. Thousands of ships, the greatest military force in galactic history, flying away from a species that had been among the stars for only 300 years. On the bridge of the Hammer, the crew stared in disbelief. Someone laughed. Someone cried. Someone said a quiet prayer of thanks. Admiral Park allowed herself a small smile. Then she opened a channel to Earth. "This is Admiral. The conquered has retreated. We are safe for now." The message reached every human world within hours. Celebrations erupted on every planet, every station, every ship. Humanity had faced the rulers of the galaxy and won, not through weapons, not through violence, through the simple act of refusing to kneel. But the real victory was happening somewhere else. Across the galaxy, the news spread like fire. On 100 conquered worlds, species who had served the conquered for thousands of years heard what humanity had done. They heard that someone had said no. They heard that the conquered had blinked first. and they began to ask questions. On a world called Prime, Elder sat in her garden and listened to the wind. She was old. She was tired. She did not have many years left, but for the first time in centuries, she felt something she had forgotten. Hope. The humans had not freed the galaxy. They had done something more important. They had shown that freedom was possible, that the conquered could be faced, that the old order was not as strong as it seemed. It would take time, decades, maybe centuries, but the seed was planted. The first crack had appeared in the wall that had imprisoned the galaxy for 12,000 years. And cracks only grew. Years later, Ambassador was asked about that day in the Grand Chamber, the day she walked away from the most powerful civilization in history. "Were you afraid?" the interviewer asked. Thought for a long moment. She was old now. Her hair was white, her hands trembled, but her eyes were still sharp, still steady. "Of course I was afraid," she said. "Only fools are not afraid, but fear is not the same as surrender. Fear tells you that something is dangerous. It does not tell you what to do about it." "So what made you walk away?" Smiled. It was a small smile, but warm. "I thought about my grandmother. She survived the Third Pacific War. She lost everything, her home, her family, everything except her daughter, my mother. When I was a child, I asked her how she kept going, how she did not give up." "What did she say?" "She said that giving up is easy. Anyone can give up. But getting up again and again, even when everything tells you to stay down, that is what makes us human." Looked at the interviewer. "The conquered wanted us to give up, to accept their terms, to become another conquered species in their collection. But we are human. We do not know how to stay down." The galaxy continued to change. New species began to resist. Old alliances crumbled. The conquered was not destroyed, but it was weakened. It was no longer the unchallenged master of the stars. And at the center of all that change, a small blue planet continued to spin around its yellow sun. A planet of people who were stubborn and afraid and brave and broken and alive. A planet that had looked at the darkness and chosen to keep walking. The universe was vast and cold and full of terrors, but somewhere in that darkness, a fire burned, a fire that had started in the hearts of ancestors who had survived ice ages and plagues and wars, a fire that had never gone out, no matter how hard the wind blew. That fire was humanity. And now the galaxy knew its name.